Hi pals, nice to be with you again. I'm Andrew from Uptech, and I'm passionate about startups, and successful stories really inspire me. Yet, those are always startup failures that teach us new lessons. I've been through many startup launches, and I know firsthand how it feels when your startup fails. Pretty bad, actually. But one thing I know for sure is that you gotta fail many times to improve and win the biggest battle. So today, we will look back at the most iconic startup failures in history, and we will explore the reasons for their failures and, of course, talk about lessons learned. And if you watch this video till the end, I will share a fun resource where you can find even more stories of startup failures. So, let's start! The first rockstar failure is Quibi. Quibi was a short video streaming service. Its co-founders, Jeffrey Katzenberg and Meg Whitman, saw it as a mobile-first product which users would use during their commute. The startup raised $1.8 billion in funding, and unfortunately, that was it. Quibi shut down less than a year after its official release, and here's why. First, COVID struck the US market. Could there be a worse scenario for an app that bets on users' commute? Second, the idea of a mobile-only streaming just did not fit. Users wanted TV, big broadcasting features, which meant engaging in direct competition with Amazon, Netflix, and other streaming giants. Third, Quibi failed to gain a sufficient user base. Instead of tens of millions, they barely reached 500,000. It seems like reality was screaming to Quibi, pivot the product and adapt to user needs. But Quibi failed to change. They were just too big already and burning cash too fast. And this is what played a cruel joke on them. So here is what Quibi could do. First, quickly add the features that would meet the user needs, like TV broadcasting or longer episodes. Second, lower the price, because $5 per month was too much for what they offered. And third, validate the idea and achieve product market fit before scaling. Lesson learned from Quibi's case: flexibility and willingness to pivot is a must for successful companies, and denying the reality can be fatal. Another big-time startup failure is Juicero. Juicero was a perfectly designed and over-engineered juice squeezer. Yeah, it was actually a juice squeezer which cost $400. But the price was not even the worst part. One day, a video review from Bloomberg made a big revelation. You could squeeze juice with your bare hands. Unimaginable. With the same time and effort, by the way. So the main problem of Juicero was that you could actually get the job done without it. Well, the lesson learned here: you need to make sure the problem indeed exists and your product solves it. Here's what Juicero could do differently. First, talk to users and find out if they really need your product or service. Second, validate if your users are willing to pay for your product. And third, solve the existing problem, not a made-up one. All in all, Juicero team came up with a solution to the non-existing problem. Y Combinator even has a term for this: SISP, Solution in Search of a Problem. And this mistake was fatal. Things are heating up, and we are moving on to the biggest startup failure in the history of healthcare, and maybe the biggest scam of the whole Silicon Valley: the fall of Theranos. Theranos was a biotech startup working on the devices that promised to provide over 240 blood tests out of only one fingerstick. It was founded by Elizabeth Holmes, a 19-year-old Stanford dropout. Following the step of Steve Jobs, Holmes wanted to build an iPod for healthcare. Sounds like a groundbreaking endeavor, doesn't it? Well, that's what Holmes believed in. Theranos raised $1.8 billion and made the Valley believe their product could make a revolution in healthcare. Things started to fall apart in 2015. The Wall Street Journal published an investigation that made one thing clear: Theranos was a fraud. In reality, most of the tests were done in the lab, the device did not actually work as promised, and produced highly inaccurate results. So, all in all, it was a fiction, futile attempt to recreate Apple's success in a few years. And Holmes is under trial now, expecting to get up to 20 years in prison for financial fraud. What could have saved Theranos? Well, obviously, not playing it false. That's simple. Move fast and break things doesn't work in all scenarios, especially in regulated and capital-intensive, like healthcare. Theranos' empire fell precipitously, and for a good reason. You cannot build a startup playing it false. As simple as that. Coming up next is Segway, a two-wheeled scooter which, of course, aimed to make a revolution too. Segway launched in 2001, and in the beginning all was fine. They planned to sell 10,000 units per week, and that's 500,000 per year. Even Steve Jobs saw Segway as a game changer in personal transportation. Instead, they sold only 30,000 units during the next 6 years. So, what went wrong? First, the PR hype was too high. Segway claimed to make a revolution, but did not solve any user's problem. And that's the key thing the product must do: solve a user problem. Second, wrong timing. Segway launched in 2002 and fell full of regulation in many countries where it was banned from the sidewalks and roads. Segway was obviously ahead of its time, and the correct timing is one of the most important factors for startups to succeed. How could have Segway done better? Again, do a product discovery and see if users want your product. Focus on solving the problem, not the innovation itself. And when you are pioneering a product, pioneer the use and adoption of that product as well. Well, sometimes a product should not make a groundbreaking innovation to hit it off. But when you do, make sure to focus on the applications of your product and build a small group of loyal early adopters, which Segway didn't do, unfortunately. So we approached the last failure, Here One, another product that wanted to make a revolution. Here One was a computer, a speaker, and mic in everyone's ear. In other words, they were one of the first earbuds we know. Doppler Labs, the company behind Here One, raised 50 million investments and shut down. So what went wrong for Here One? They just could not stand the competition. Here One was a small startup against such heavy incumbents as Apple's EarPods and Sony headphones. They managed to sell only 25,000 units instead of projected hundreds of thousands. So how could have Here One done better? Well, study their competitors and the market better. Because building hardware product is much harder than software. They overpromised and underdelivered. Their earbuds provided barely 2-3 hours of active listening instead of planned 4.5 hours. So the lesson learned here is: know your field and competitors well enough before making a product, and make sure you can deliver on your promises. Otherwise, users and investors might not give you a second chance. Building startups is impossible without making mistakes. That's sad news. But the good news is that we all can learn from them and start over again. That I very well know from my own experience. And one more thing. There can't be too many failure stories to learn from. So I want to recommend you Startup Blow Up. This is a fun, insightful randomizer explaining why a startup will fail. Oh well, already failed. For each reason, you can read a full story of some notable failures. I will leave the link below. Check it out. For more insights about startup development, follow our channel and watch new videos from us. See ya! Bye bye!